As if they don't have too much on their plates. The Kings of Combat Sports Podcast, John and Wade. They'll talk about the things they did that day. They'll analyze the work of Vince and Triple H. Review a SmackDown. 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 Review a SmackDown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Review a SmackDown. I am John Pollock and Wai Ting, coming from the Review a SmackDown studios. How are you, Wai?
Good.
Are you excited to chat about some wrestling?
Always. You don't even have to ask. Every time you ask, the answer is yes. I'm so excited.
But sometimes the tone says different.
Really?
I wasn't excited to talk about wrestling on Monday night.
Oh.
Not after those 3 hours.
Okay. Well, I am.
Okay. How was your Tuesday evening?
It's good. I watch wrestling.
You watch wrestling? Was that it? More Narcos?
No.
No more Narcos.
No.
I was out winning a world championship in softball.
Congrats.
It was a wonderful game.
The Diamond Cutters.
The Diamond Cutters
You guys won?
prevailed. We did. We won the intense 4-game fall season.
Wow, Jason must have been ecstatic.
Jason is, what would be the best comparison? He is the Hiroshi Tanahashi of the team.
What is that, like the franchise?
Of course he's the franchise, but he is also working extremely hurt and probably needs time off, but he won't take any time off. And this was the G1.
Wow.
So he had to go through. He's got multiple injuries.
That man
But he powers through. He's like Terry Funk. Once he's limping around, but then when the light goes on, he goes out and performs.
I didn't know how crazy he was about softball until I played with him at the company game last week, because he's just like laser focused, like a lot more than I would have expected anybody to be at a company softball game. First of all, he basically invited himself. He didn't even originally get the invite, but he just like found out about it from Braden, I guess, and then invited himself to the company softball game, which, I mean, he should be there. I'm glad he was there because he was on my team.
Yeah, I was not on your team.
He was great. But, I mean, man, the man just like, he's all business.
Well, yeah, it's serious stuff.
Yeah, I guess so.
You got to be ready.
Yep.
He was getting ready for a championship game, too.
I guess so, yeah. He was stretching and everything.
Well, yeah, that's, you can't be Tanahashi without putting in the work to compensate.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yes, we won.
Congrats.
Even got a home run, Wai.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. So it was an exciting night. And then I came home to watch SmackDown from Glendale, Arizona, where it looked like the top section was... I didn't really pay attention to it too much during SmackDown, but on 205 Live, it looked like the top deck was empty. So I imagine that was probably the similar scene for SmackDown. So they have been struggling somewhat with live attendance of late. And, well, the beautiful metropolis of Glendale, I guess, kept that trend. Kevin Owens started the show coming out and asked where Shane McMahon is. He says Owens has been called a coward for what he did to Vince and not being at SmackDown last week. He says he respects and actually likes Vince McMahon, and look what I did to him, and says that, what do you think I'm going to do to someone I don't respect or like, such as Shane McMahon? So after all of this, the commercials of how will Shane respond, guy didn't even show up on time to the show.
He must have been delayed. Did they explain that?
Well, they said that later in the show, Brian explains that he just landed. But I feel he could have done a bit better than that.
Yeah, I mean...
this was a guy who's out for blood, but he's like, I'm not taking the red eye to confront the man who killed my father.
You don't think he would have had a private jet?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he's very superstitious about
flying these
small
days.
planes now. So Sami Zayn comes out and asks what is wrong with Owens. He lost complete control 2 weeks ago, and he knows when Owens snaps that it never ends well for him, and says that Owens is about to cross a line he's never crossed before with Shane McMahon. There's no coming back in your career, in your life, or with your family. A steel cage match, Kevin, will change everything. So I don't know what exactly the line is that Owens is about to cross.
Mutilation of some kind.
Oh, is that where he's going?
Well, I guess
could be a death.
The worst
in a cell.
when you the idea is that he might fall through the cage, he might fall off the cage, and he could die.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah,
all possible. So Owens says that he has outshined and eclipsed Sami Zayn, which there was no arguing. Owens says he signed with WWE 2.5 years after Sami Zayn, and yet he's been IC champion twice. He's been Universal champion. He won the U.S. title at WrestleMania while Zayn watched backstage, and said that he will headline Hell in a Cell, and asks what has Sami Zayn done in his life that has had the impact that his skull had on Vince's head. Zayn agrees with this breakdown. He says, yes, you have done more than me in WWE, but you've also taken every shortcut and reprehensible action. And the day will come where Zayn will have his time, and he's going to do it the right way. And says, I might not be doing great right now, but at least I can look myself in the mirror and not see a reflection of trash. And that led to Daniel Bryan coming out and said, Shane is not here right now, and he's not sure if he will be here tonight. It's TBA. And he makes Owens and Zayn a singles match for later tonight.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen a lot of Owens and Zayn together, but I can't get enough of them just talking and acting out a scene, because I think they have incredible chemistry, and I think they're actually both really good actors for professional wrestling. You know, I thought Zayn had a very good comeback to Owens, really good lines. And I love Sami's babyface delivery. I think he's painfully underutilized.
Yeah. Sami could have had a great comeback here stating, I might not have any of these fake world titles, but I'm doing real world change out there, raising money for people in need. That's the impact I'm making.
They're not talking about that.
No?
On TV.
Oh, well.
Apparently. No, they haven't.
Anyway, well, a headbutt. A headbutt is a close second, I guess, in terms of impact. He said, what in your life have you done that has had impact?
But they haven't.
This guy legitimately has.
See, like, don't you think what Sami's doing is something that's worth mentioning on TV? You know, like for all the PR that they want to get through the Connor's cure and everything. Here's one of their own guys doing something like a very noble cause.
Yes.
And
you would never know that on their own television to kind of get behind something like that. I would encourage that of my performers. So the singles match is made, and I know that Sami Zayn is very much lost in the shuffle, but I do like this kind of big picture story that this guy, he has this ardent following of the rules, doing things the right way, and he's failed. He's failed by trying to be honorable in all of this.
He's failed, but he's maintained his morality.
Well, that's great. I think that's... Sometimes you don't get those larger stories told. And I don't think that's even something they're really focused upon or even trying to tell this story. But it's there. It's there for them to exploit at some point, that here's a guy that could very much have this battle within himself, that look where this guy has gotten in Kevin Owens versus himself.
Until he just turns heel one day, you know, and then it's just kind of ignored, which I think could happen eventually. But I think it was just...
evil, he gets together with Bailey.
All the money he raised, he spent it on.
Oh, don't even
a car. Or something.
He bought himself new ring gear.
Yeah,
and he gets a new entrance video.
Yeah,
that's what he does.
Is that what he spent? Wow.
He buys a mansion. Yeah. So singles match later on tonight between Owens and Zayn. Baron Corbin versus Ty Dillinger. AJ Styles came out to join the commentary team, and.
Did Corbin's new music always have lyrics, or was it the first time?
I think so.
Oh, it did. It's like the exactly the type of music I'd expect Baron Corbin to listen to. It's kind of like just kind of screamy, obnoxious, kind of metal-y type of thing.
Well, it fits the character.
Yeah.
As AJ comes out, it distracts Corbin, and Dillinger dumps him over the top to the floor. So this would have been over if it was a battle royal. And Styles just sits in on commentary. Corbin comes back. He's in control after the break. Dillinger landed a super kick, got a 2 count. Then Corbin runs into the steps, missing him with a shoulder tackle on the floor. Dillinger can't get him up for the tiebreaker, so Corbin, on the floor, throws water at AJ, then grabs Dillinger and throws him at AJ, and they fly over the desk. And the referee is counting, and you think it's building to the referee counting to 10. And the referee gets to 10, and Dillinger can't make it into the ring in time. and he's counted out in 2:42. So then Corbin knocks him off the apron, and Styles chases Corbin away from the ring. Corbin gets on the microphone, calls them dumb. He knew that Dillinger and Styles would work together, and Styles can't beat him one-on-one. He's not going to take any shortcuts. He wants Styles at Hell in a Cell and will take his title. And the match is officially announced in the next segment for Styles and Corbin.
Yeah. I thought that they managed to give Dillinger a bigger role than I really expected him to have in this. He's been going kind of 50-50 with, or would it be 33-33-33 with
.3, yes.
With the other two. But however, I expected him to be in the match. I thought it would be a three-way at Hell in a Cell, but they're making it a one-on-one match. And I don't know, I'm kind of disappointed. I feel like Dillinger has kind of gained some good traction in this feud. And another Corbin AJ match, I'm not all that excited by.
No. I'm not all that curious to see that match. Yeah, Dillinger, I think, has helped himself with this program. I'm never a big fan of the three-ways where it's the baby faces outnumbering the heel. But I think Dillinger, he's gotten at least some presence on this show as a result of the stuff with AJ and Corbin. Jinder Mahal and the Singhs were introduced inside of the ring. Jinder says he may have gone too far last week. The crowd starts chanting Nakamura. He says he respects Nakamura and wants to compliment him, and shows a photo of Nakamura when he heard the remarks made last week, and it's a photo of Nakamura smiling on the Titantron. Then we got more still shots of Nakamura, and then the last one is an image of Nakamura and his reaction after he loses at Hell in a Cell. And we're looking at the photo, and all of a sudden it starts to move, and it's actually Nakamura, and it's a video. And he speaks, the lights go out, and his entrance starts to play.
What does he actually say?
I didn't even make out what he said. He said Hell in a Cell.
He said, this is the look of... And I replayed this. I could not make out what he said. The guy was talking again with his mouthpiece, and it sounded like, this is the look of the sheer, or something like that. I could not make it out, and neither obviously could the crowd. So I thought it was really cool, the moving picture
I thought it looked really good.
But like, come on, man, like you gotta be able to get the line out. If not, don't script him like at all.
It's a great point, because I didn't even bother to rewind. And you know why? Because whatever the line was, doesn't matter. He doesn't say anything of substance.
It doesn't matter.
Like
Absolutely.
At most, it's like a line to hopefully get a reaction out of people. Yeah. And it's inconsequential words that he doesn't even need to speak.
Doesn't, absolutely.
So his entrance plays, comes out, attacks the Singhs. Mahal goes after him. Nakamura hit an enziguri in the ring. Mahal is down. The Singhs stop the Kinshasa. He fights them off and then lands the Kinshasa on Jinder Mahal to end the segment. I would have maybe saved the Kinshasa for maybe next week, or just not hit it at all.
I think they felt like maybe he needed it after last week's segment, and I get it. I get this was kind of designed to be the comeback to last week, and I thought doing something like finally being able to hit the Kinshasa was maybe necessary because of all the controversy from last week. But
and a significantly toned down segment here in comparison.
Well, yeah, in comparison to last week. But I thought it was fine, and I thought Nakamura was fine except for mumbling his line. And but I thought him coming out with fire, getting the better of Jinder and the Singhs was really all he needed. But I almost feel like they really shouldn't have even shown him last week. Because like after what Jinder said, you expect the guy who he was saying that to be really pissed off. Like Shane McMahon seeing his father, get headbutted by Kevin Owens pissed off. And they managed to keep those two apart. I wouldn't even... I thought there was no benefit to showing Nakamura last week. Instead of having him make his first appearance to answer, what Jinder said for this week. Saving it for this week instead. Come out pissed off.
Yeah, I thought that this week you could have almost come back and presented a much more... like a deeper side of Nakamura, who is, we've always talked about him doing that big sit down, use subtitles, explain to this guy that I've come over here to the U.S., I have experienced no racism from these fans.
Yeah.
They have all accepted me in open arms. Jinder Mahal is the kind of person that is everything that is wrong with with everybody, who tries to inject this racism and this prejudice for his own personal gain. When the audience, I've been welcomed by them.
Absolutely.
And it gets the whole audience rooting for Nakamura, who's standing up for them.
I don't understand Vince's reluctance to use subtitles. He must think his audience is really dumb and can't read.
I find it insulting that it's just give him one line and it's, oh my God, the Japanese guy said something funny.
Yeah, and
that's what his promos are.
It just sounds unnatural. I think it's cool to have him do 1 or 2 lines, but I mean, come on, I want to know what this guy actually thinks. And we saw subtitles used to great effect in the Cruiserweight Classic and the Mae Young Classic, even in like some of the .com videos where you had that surfing video with Shinsuke. And that was the most I probably learned about the guy out of everything I've seen of his on the WWE. So I really think he could benefit from something like that. And they've tried a lot of things at this point, so why not go the subtitle route?
Yeah, and this also worth noting I think it was in the Owens promo. It was somewhere on this show. They specifically referred to Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens as the main event of Hell in a Cell. And I think that has to go on last. Like, this is not going to be a cell match. It looks like we're getting 2 cell matches. I don't know. This just feels like a mid-card feud to me. It does not feel at all like your WWE title program.
Yeah, well, I guess Jinder with the title has
brought it down.
Title.
Certainly. The Usos and the Hype Bros. The New Day came out and they were seated in the front row eating popcorn, watching the match. Ryder hit a neck breaker to Jimmy, and then Mojo tags in and starts arguing with Zack about the blind tag. And this allows Jimmy to shove Mojo into Zack Ryder, knocking him off the turnbuckle to the floor. Jimmy super kicked Mojo. Jay tagged in and hit a top rope splash, pinning him in 2 minutes, 21 seconds. So the dissension involving the Hype Bros continue.
This dissension is going on forever. They were upset that first week. They're upset again last week, and they even talked about doing something drastic as a result of their loss last week. So they just came back and did nothing. We didn't even get follow-up after this one.
No, it's just
it's
implied that they're going to work things out, and then next week they'll get everything on track.
I guess.
The Usos state that the New Day belongs on the sidelines. They're going to be 5-time champions. Big E takes a microphone that is hidden inside of his popcorn, which is gross if you got butter and stuff all over it.
I hope it wasn't
salt.
buttered. I'd be pissed off if I was the audio guy.
Oh, man.
Butter all over my stuff. These mics are getting dropped already.
Microphones are very sensitive.
Yeah.
I mean, what would happen if they have to cut this live promo and he's talking off the mic or something and there's something wrong with like the switchboard and no one can hear her? Kofi, it's a big promo.
His mic would cut out. They would have to redo the whole thing. Maybe try to save it with level later.
They might have to.
Yeah.
They bring up the Usos penitentiary and say they don't want to just defend the titles at Hell in a Cell. They want to be inside the Hell in a Cell. The Usos smile, which is code for approval, and the New Day's music plays. So we have a second Hell in a Cell match. And this, to me, is the second, easily the second most anticipated match for me at Hell in a Cell. I'm really looking forward to this. They've even customized a Hell in a Cell commercial built around this match, which to me dwarfs the Jinder Mahal Shinsuke Nakamura program.
Yeah.
So these guys have had hot matches all summer, and this is being built up as the final one. And they've had an outstanding feud this year.
I think it's a great call. I think it's one of the rare occasions where a Hell in a Cell actually feels justified because they've had the regular match, they've had the street fight. It kind of organically built to this, which you could hopefully expect to be the culmination of their feud. And they've all been good matches. So I look forward to this one, maybe even more than the Owens-Shane match. Yeah, in ring, I am looking more forward to this one. So I think the novelty of a tag team cell match in itself is a bit of a draw. So I think it's just a great call all around.
I hope that the New Day planned this out in advance, what they were going to do, because Xavier kind of initiated the Hell in a Cell option, and I mean, odds are he won't even be in this match.
I guess so.
Thanks a lot, Xavier. You just put us into a Hell in a Cell.
I'm sure they all talked about it beforehand.
All right. Well, they all seem to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Then, this celebration, I already knew based on the graphic they aired throughout the show, I knew this was going to destroy the celebration from Monday's episode of Raw. And it did. Aiden English is inside the ring for Rusev's celebration. He has been nominated as the MC for the Pride of Bulgaria celebration.
I love it. I love it.
They even flew in, the mayor of Plovdiv in Bulgaria, Rusev's hometown. I hope I'm not destroying the pronunciation of that name. English sings the national anthem of Bulgaria to bring Rusev out as he carries a flag and then ascends atop a podium inside of the ring that is also adorned with the Bulgarian colors.
I think this is the best role English has ever had in the WWE.
He has to be paired with Rusev.
Oh, for permanently.
Yes.
Like him doing the Ricardo thing, delivering an obnoxious grand ring entrance, I think is the perfect role for him with his gimmick. He even really looks the part with that suit with the big tail. He also really rounds Rusev out by giving him that manager who could get physical outside the ring.
Rusev very much benefits from having that secondary body next to him. Yeah. And I thought Aiden English, if you didn't see potential in him, I thought he hit it out of the park last week with the Orton stuff, that they could do some great ideas with him. Yeah. And this feels like a great role.
He doesn't necessarily have the size, nor he doesn't stand up physically in ring, to be...
well, he's tall.
Yeah, I suppose maybe that's the only thing, but...
And he is taller than Rusev.
I think that's fine, though, but he's thinner, I just feel like he seems like he could make a great manager, not just for Rusev, maybe for a number of people. So I hope they take this far.
So the mayor reads a statement and then issues a key to the city and calls Rusev their great protector. I just love that all of this was off of this win last week that was like through a distraction. I just thought it was so entertaining. And he names September the 26th Rusev Day as Rusev replays the match with Randy Orton from last week. Rusev tells Orton that it's his jungle now, and Aiden English has prepared a song in honor of Rusev Day, which included the lyrics, "Out of nowhere, Rusev struck Randy Orton like a truck. It's Rusev Day. It's Rusev Day." This was in my head for the rest of the show. Oh, wow. And he continues singing until Randy just shows up out of nowhere, hitting English with the RKO, and then delivers one to Rusev. Mm-hmm. A damn near perfect segment.
I really enjoyed this. I never thought I'd find Aiden English so entertaining. I think it makes Rusev look like a better deal, and I thought this set up the rubber match pretty well.
Yeah, this was just great. This was Rusev is a tremendously entertaining character that sometimes can go too far in being too entertaining for his role. But I thought this was like a great balance, and I really liked the pairing with Aiden English. So a really good segment here. Brian is with Zayn in his office. He says Shane just landed and he's on his way here coming for Kevin Owens. Zayn tells him to call Shane back and not to interfere or get involved with Owens tonight. He has his chance in 2 weeks, and he only gets one opportunity with Kevin Owens tonight. And then Daniel Bryan brought up Starrcade and the fact that they're going to have a singles match in November, and Zayn was like, all right, bring him along. It's fine. I'll have plenty of chances to face Kevin Owens, knowing how this company leans on us when they're in a lurch. Orton is backstage. He runs into Renee, who's just standing there. She's just backstage, a roving reporter, hoping someone will come. And Randy says that he wants Rusev to know he wants him at Hell in a Cell and wishes her a happy Rusev Day.
It was a different spin on what could have been a typical joining me at this time Renee segment.
Yeah. Do you know that Rusev Day also falls on the exact same day, the anniversary of the Kennel from Hell match?
Wow.
So it is September 26th has been updated.
Maybe that's what the match stip should be.
Oh, yeah. It would be. Yeah. Charlotte and Carmella had a brief match. Carmella dragged James Ellsworth out on a leash and chains him to the turnbuckle. Carmella got the advantage early. They went through the break, got a super kick on the floor. Carmella's in control, went for several covers with Charlotte kicking out, hit an inverted DDT, then gets frustrated. Charlotte reversed a roll-up, got one of her own for a 2 count, and then nailed her with a running boot and pinned Carmella in 440. As Corey Graves said, that Charlotte got the ever-important momentum going into Hell in a Cell.
Ellsworth is now, his neck collar is chained to the ring post as Carmella wrestles her match. Why would Carmella give herself a disadvantage like that? Because Ellsworth's supposed to be on the outside helping.
I think she feels he's more harm than good when he's left to his own devices.
Is that the story?
Yeah, he screws up.
Oh, so why bring him out at all?
Well, she has her own selfish reasons for needing him. Maybe certain advice that he provides.
Okay. All right, cool. I buy it. I think Carmella clearly next in line for the title. She looks great. Her promos are good. But I think
and
in
she's
ring,
on a losing streak, so that's always prime for a title win.
But in ring, I really don't think she's shown all that much improvement, you know, and I thought she was greatly exposed in this match with Charlotte. I fear that when she gets the belt, her run might not be too well received because the standard in the division is so high right now. And I don't know if she's good enough to carry the belt.
I feel that the title win, it's all in the cash in and doing something. And I mean, the idea you came up with about Ric Flair's like first public appearance and doing something where Carmella ruins it.
Yeah.
I mean, that would just be.
But how long could it last, though? Yeah, I know she'll win the belt.
Oh, I think that's all what it is that it's.
But can you headline a match with her on a show? You know, like can you headline a women's championship match with her on the show?
I don't think the wrestling will be all that great, but you know what? I didn't feel Naomi was really blowing the doors off with her matches either.
She's much better than Carmella.
Carmella's a much better promo, which is probably more valuable.
I suppose. I just think it ultimately comes down to in-ring when you're trying to sell network subscriptions.
I don't think anyone's deciding their monthly bill based on the women's championship.
I don't agree with that.
You don't think people are subscribing to the network because of a...
I think women are.
I don't know. I think it's the overall package. You either are...
Of course, it's not necessarily one thing, but I think somebody, like a hot women's program could certainly add to it.
Well, Natalya came out. She said she's happy Rick is doing better so that Rick can watch her overrated daughter fail at Hell in a Cell. The Fashion Files is coming back next week. And then the next segment, The Undertaker's music hits, and the gong goes off, and it was painful, I thought. I don't think there was one fan that bought this. I think the second that you didn't even get the momentary, oh, is it really The Undertaker? I don't think one person believed that The Undertaker was coming out.
No, of course not. I don't think anybody did, but the entrance is still so good, so I felt like it was enjoyable, you know? Even it was a man pretending to be The Undertaker. It's almost at this point not even about The Undertaker. It's just about the lights. It's about the song. It's about the pyro, you know?
So it's Ziggler out with the hat, the jacket, marches to the ring. And, I mean, first of all, we all know The Undertaker's hip problems. This guy was walking way too fast to pull off an Undertaker entrance.
He also looked like a little kid in Undertaker's jacket.
He did. He very much looked like a child playing dress-up. The announcers call out that it's Dolph Ziggler. Thank you, guys. And then he made the reveal, and the crowd started chanting, "You suck," at Dolph. And he asks the fans if they actually thought they would see The Undertaker twice in 1 year. Says anyone can put on a Halloween costume and act like a zombie, but no one can do what he does in the ring. And then he's interrupted by Bobby Roode. I've got to say, after all these weeks, it was building to this.
Bit of a letdown, huh?
This 100% should have been Bobby's debut.
Oh, 100%, yeah. I mean, I was really happy to hear Roode's music because it meant the end of this stupid Dolph gimmick. And they did improve the Titantron. They improved the Times New Roman font on Bobby Roode's Titantron, which was nice.
Wonderful.
But I almost feel like the entrance felt kind of flat after The Undertaker's entrance. It's also because
It's a great point.
Also because we've already seen Bobby Roode's entrance, you know, on SmackDown.
I just thought this would have been such a great surprise and not necessarily expected had it been Bobby's debut and a logical climax of these entrance spoofs. Yeah. But instead he came out, it was just a regular reaction. He says that Roode says that Dolph's an amazing talent, but he's also a hypocrite. They're a lot alike. They both demand respect in the ring, and asks him to back up his claim of being one of the best and challenges him at Hell in a Cell. Ziggler lists off all of Roode's features, his robe, the elaborate entrance, but his skills are not on par with his. Roode is everything that is wrong with WWE, agrees to the match, and then as he goes to say the rest in peace catchphrase, Roode cuts him off and says Hell in a Cell will be absolutely glorious.
Yeah. I think a good first pay-per-view match for Roode. Dolph has kind of been doing welcoming duty as of late with Nakamura and now with Bobby. Yeah, what's next for Dolph after this?
Commissioner of 205 Live.
Oh, okay. Maybe you could cut down to 205.
Yeah, maybe.
that story.
Yeah, I mean, he used to be a wrestler. I'm sure he's well versed in moderate forms of weight cutting.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, main event. Owens knocked him down right away, hit a cannonball, and starts ramming Zayn's head into the barricade and then kicks away at him on the floor. Zayn fought back. They show Shane arriving backstage, and I guess this was a really big arena because it took a long time for Shane to find his way to the entrance.
I wish they would have come up with some excuse. You know,
He's lost, guys. We lost him. It's a very big venue here in Glendale.
why show up at all if you're going to show up at the end?
There was a super kick to Zayn, 2 count for Owens. Zayn then used a Greco-Roman knuckle lock into a tornado DDT, set up for the haluva kick, but was met with a super kick. Pop-up powerbomb gets blocked, and Zayn hit a blue thunder bomb. Goes for the haluva kick again, but Owens rolls to the floor, and Zayn lands a tope con hero. From there, Zayn went for his flying DDT through the turnbuckle, but gets hit with a super kick flying under the middle turnbuckle. Owens then followed and powerbombed Zayn onto the edge of the apron, going back to their Owens' debut in NXT. And then Charles Robinson calls for the bell. Ends this. We saw a man with teeth jammed into his gums, and that was okay. But this back injury, too much. And the match is called off. They bring down officials to check on Zayn, and he's being helped to the back. Owens is just sitting and watching, and then he watches Zayn being helped to the back and runs and attacks him from behind. He grabs a chair, places it around the neck of Sami, and finally Shane comes out. He stares down Owens, and then he runs down the ramp, and Owens takes Zayn with the chair still around his neck and throws him into Shane, and the chair hits Shane in the face, and Owens sprints up the steps in the crowd as Shane stares down Owens from the ring to end the show.
Oh my God! I thought Owens made these two look like idiots. He's like, here's this guy out for revenge. He's charging after him, and he's taking
Human weapon.
He's taking his hostage, and using that to attack him. It was brilliant. Oh my God!
Owens was pretty smart.
Oh, he's so smart.
I continue to really enjoy this feud. I like the ending here. I thought the intensity was really good.
Yeah.
Zayn looked like a goof by the end of it, but that's kind of the role.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm really glad they're keeping these two apart.
Yes, I was glad they didn't touch on this show. Maybe they'll do that next week.
Maybe.
But they've kept them separate and done a very good job with it.
I wouldn't even have an issue if they just saved it for next week, for the go-home show. I think it would be acceptable. And hopefully even until the pay-per-view. But yeah, this certainly feels like it's the main event angle.
So that was SmackDown. I think this show has largely been carried by the Shane Owens program. And we also got the Rusev segment. Those were the high points of the show for me.
I wouldn't say a blowaway show at all, but I thought it served its purpose in progressing all the relevant storylines and characters for No Mercy.
For Hell in a Cell.
Sorry, Hell in a Cell.
We're on to the next one.
Yeah, I know. Shit.
I'm not going to recap all of 205 Live. I did watch it. I just want to go over the first segment because that's probably the segment everyone's interested in involving Enzo. Also worth noting, no Nigel McGuinness on the show. It was Vic Joseph and Byron Saxton calling the show with no explanation for McGuinness and why he wasn't there.
Probably on the same plane as Shane.
It could have been.
Because he couldn't find the arena.
Yeah, he was on his way and just never made it. Yeah. He was just, he was 205 late. Enzo came out on one crutch. And we should mention, they bring this up during this segment, but after Raw went off the air, they did a segment where all the cruiserweights were still out. Braun came out to murder Enzo, and then all the cruiserweights took turns attacking Enzo and leaving him for dead.
So does that mean they're all ineligible for a title shot?
Yes, and that was what was brought up here in the segment by Enzo. So Enzo comes out. He does his usual sing-along catchphrase, and I was curious to see, like, Enzo certainly turned on Monday, but how much of the babyface character would they drop here? And he did his usual intro, but it was met with tons of boos instead. Not overwhelming, but certainly it was a negative response. He's got a bandage over his eye. His left arm is all wrapped up. He says he was really hurt on Raw. Says that he is hiding his injuries almost as well as Cedric Alexander hides his charisma. He says he has never called in sick one day in his career, save for the time that he was nearly decapitated being thrown into a ring rope. And he says he's always gotten back from all of the beatings he's taken. He says he's the reason people are staying up late on Tuesday nights and why this Cruiserweight title means something. He feels bad for Neville. every day he has to wake up and look in the mirror. That's the punchline. He's ugly. And then they air the segment of what happened after Raw went off the air with everyone killing him. And then the crowd started chanting, "You deserve it," after this segment aired, and it was maybe the best use of "You deserve it." Enzo says, "You're right. I do deserve this title." And says it was supposed to be a special night for him, so much so that he flew his mother to the show to sit in the front row, and then she cried her eyes out watching this segment.
Oh, man.
Watching her son's merchandise checks go up in flames.
Yep.
And says everyone attacked him, and the audience just chanted one more time. And he calls them all haters, says Neville isn't Jaime Lannister, but winter is coming, and that every cruiserweight that touched him never gets a title match, and he might retire as champion. And then he does the soft line on Neville, and then as he leaves, he just high-fives this kid in the front row, and he goes to the back. And the rest of the show featured Arya Daivari coming up to him and kissing his ass to the point that Enzo ended up cornering him in the main event against Neville. Neville wins the match with the Rings of Saturn, and then Enzo attacks him with his crutch, and it ends the show with Neville very much positioned as the babyface, Enzo as the heel, and that's where we're going, even though Neville has to find a way to get the title match. So, I mean, Enzo's a full-out heel at this point.
Yep.
I don't know what the longevity will be. I mean, he's still a very good promo, even as a heel.
So now I think the challenge for Enzo is to get over as a heel, which, I mean, it seems like it's kind of working out.
It hasn't taken a lot for the audience to dislike this guy because they have really just told the crowds as much over the last 2 months.
Right. Do you think he could use his catchphrases now as a heel catchphrase?
I think it's really forcing things. It's much like when they turned DX when Hunter became champion, and it was like they still wanted to do all the stuff that they were just babyface spots that now you're heels. It doesn't really work to do the sing-along stuff as a heel.
Right. Interesting. I find it fascinating, especially, thinking about what the justification is to do something like this. I mean, he was still over as a babyface. He was still making money for the merchandising with the character. But now, obviously, this will probably shut all that down. This might even kill his catchphrases. So, yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how he deals with it.
Yeah, and, I mean, it's why, like, this whole thing... Like, the biggest one affected by all this is Enzo. Like, when you do a turn like that...
Well, that's the point.
When you're a big merchandise seller, especially as a guy at his level, I mean, this was not a top guy, and yet he was... this is certainly going to, I think, have an adverse effect on him financially.
He wasn't a top guy, but I'm sure merchandise-wise he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, I have no doubt that was maybe part of the sick intent of all this, is to cut this guy's checks.
On top of that, the closest you have to a top babyface on 205 Live now is Neville, which, I mean, I think people can appreciate this guy, but that's...
It's weird, but I think...
It's Neville and who else? And Neville is not... I mean, I don't know if this same character is going to work as well as a babyface.
I don't know, but I think it's worth trying, because I think the audience is at a point now where they're starting to really appreciate Neville for his in-ring ability, and they're respecting him, and they respect how good he is on the mic and in the ring. So I think it's worth trying, and I'm kind of fascinated to see what happens.
So there you have it. That was 205 Live, which for those curious as well, we had Akira Tozawa defeat Tony Nese.
So overall, would you say that Enzo being on 205 Live has been an improvement?
I found this to be the same show. I don't think it's
not any more interesting.
I'll say this: I was at least curious to see what the follow-up was to Monday's angle. So if there was a 205 Live that I think people would be sampling, this would be the week coming off of Monday. Though I don't know if the reasons were necessarily like it was a hot angle. It was more just, wow, they really... Well, they did a big angle with Enzo, and what would they be doing with Enzo on Tuesday night? I don't know if that's necessarily going to sustain. It's not like Enzo going to 205 Live has breathed new life into this show. Yeah. I feel 205 Live, the same level of interest will exist in 3 weeks that was there a month ago.
Okay.
Anyway, so that is going to wrap us up for the video portion of Review of SmackDown. If you want to hear the feedback and more, you can go download the full episode at liveaudiowrestling.com. Coming up later this week, we are going to have the full interview that I conducted with Chris Jericho. That will be up on the site, as will the MMA report on Thursday, along with what's next. And then Friday is Keep It 2000 Day with Brian Mann and Nate Milton. Coming up Sunday night on The Law, midnight Eastern time, we are scheduled to be joined by Charlotte to chat about her new book, Second Nature, that is out with her and her father, Ric Flair, that I discussed last week. A very good book if you want to check that out. So all of that is coming up later this week. You can subscribe on iTunes. Go to youtube.com/liveaudiowrestling, and you can also enter our contest to win a copy of SummerSlam 2017. We have gotten some great photos of you meeting various wrestlers. Everyone from Sonny Ono to Booker T in an aisle in Zellers.
Wow.
Lots of photos coming people's way.
Aisle in Zellers. Interesting.
So that is out there. You can send us your photos. At Law Radio, it's open till next Thursday. That is it for us. We will chat with you next week.